Hello everyone, my name is Rochelle Innocent and I'm the founder and CEO of Project Purpose. Welcome to our YouTube channel. Our community is focused on fostering the intellectual and character development in children. We do this through our parent-child workshops that focus on 4 themes: autonomy, self-efficacy, compassion, and self-concept in order to cultivate grit, perseverance, and resilience in each child. At Project Purpose, our overarching mandate is to renew and rebuild families, communities, and relationships. Our YouTube platform provides us with a space where we can have discussions on all topics that relate to families, communities, and relationships with ourselves as well as with others, with a primary focus on mental health and education. More precisely, the ways that the institutions of mental health and education play a role and have played a role in our societies at large. These discussions and debates provide us with an opportunity to think critically about what needs to change within these structures in order for us to live up to our bold slogan, support, protect, and empower each child through youth-focused development, better known as leadership in juvenescence. We recognize that in valuing our children's leadership potential, that also translates as recreating and co-creating environments socially as well as politically in order for our children to thrive. For those of you who are particularly interested in this topic, please do be sure to check out our blogs. We post every other Sunday on our website. Definitely check that out once you're finished with this video. Now, as is the YouTube convention, please do subscribe. Hit that post notification bell so that you're aware of every time we post. And of course, if you like our conversations and you want to keep them going, like, comment, and share this video. Let's get into it. Welcome back, everyone. So this is video 2 on our week on mental health. And as you can see from the description, we're going to be talking about 3 different attitudes or values that help foster resilience. And I wanted to have this conversation, and I'm going to try to make it a bit of a combination of, practical and conceptual, and I'm going to use maybe personal anecdotes as well. Because sometimes we hear resilience and we have this picture of, superwoman or Superman and someone who's super strong all the time and who kind of laughs in the face of danger, so to speak. But resilience is a little more subtle than that. It's quieter than that. It's sort of a way of thinking, a way of framing situations and experiences so that you can weather through the tough times. And being resilient doesn't mean that you're not impacted by those tough times. Being resilient doesn't mean that you're not impacted, that you're not hurt, that you're not, shaken by tough times. Resilience is more so a way of being, a way of framing the situations and the experiences so that no matter how rough things can get, you have set yourself up sort of mentally and emotionally to make it through on the other side. And that involves being comfortable and okay with adapting, with changing, with growing, and with developing through some of the harder periods that life sort of brings. What I'd like to do is talk about 3 different attitudes or values that I've personally adopted that have definitely supported and cultivated resilience in my life. As with the majority of people that I'm sure watching this video, I have faced my fair share of tough times, but as they say, tough times don't last. Tough people do. Okay, that might be a little cliche, but I definitely believe that it's true. And for any of you who are going through a tough time, please know you can get through it. I firmly believe that we go through experiences that challenge us, that force us beyond our comfort zone. And no matter how terrible some of these experiences and how horrific some of these experiences are, I believe each of us has the power and the strength within to push through and get through them. And this video is sort of a testament to that. So I only have 3, but I'd like to kind of do a deep dive on all 3 of these, which is why I kind of cut it to 3, because I think that they're fairly, I think there's a lot of meat in them. So I didn't want to sort of be bare-boned and give more. So I just kind of thought I would focus down on 3 core aspects to resilience. So 3 different attitudes that I feel best sort of foster resilience in oneself. In this video, let's make a choice to be interchangeable in the language that we use by way of attitude, belief, or value. I think that the way that these are framed, they can definitely be seen as any of the three. So classify it as you see fit. The first that I'd like to cover, a belief and an attitude, I guess, of what is meant for you comes to you. Now I'm gonna say that there's a little bit like what is meant for you comes to you. And this is really important because sometimes we find ourselves stuck in the past thinking about the opportunities that we've missed or the dreams that we had that we might have sort of ignored or overlooked. And I think that it's important to distinguish that there are some dreams that are more fantasies, and I think we need to differentiate between a dream and a fantasy, because a dream is something that is definitely attainable. It is within your reach, either because of the talent and the toolkit that you already have, or that you can figure out a way to attain in order to achieve that dream. Whereas a fantasy is something that, it's cute, but that, there's so many degrees of separation between you and that reality that, the likelihood of it manifesting is pretty much next to zero. An example of this is myself. I grew up really wanting to be the next Mariah Carey. And growing up, I would sing for everyone, and I was not ashamed. I was, very confident in that I was going to be a star, and I was going to sing on, stages for crowds of people to see. Small caveat, despite the, confidence, is I'm very tone deaf. I mean, I might be able to sing one line and it sounds okay, but I can't sing, and it didn't stop me from dreaming. It didn't stop me from, putting on those rose-colored lenses and, persecuting people with my tone deaf singing. I did, and I remember I was in a children's choir growing up, and at one point the choir director was so fed up. She had me, well, not fed up, I guess there was this one point the choir director was so exasperated with the fact that I really could not hear a tone. She had me lip sync, and I was one of the only kids, and let me know if you were one of these kids, because I've yet to meet another child in a children's choir who was forced to lip sync because of how tone deaf they were. Even into high school, I still sort of carried this fantasy that I was going to be this, mega superstar singer. And I'm lucky that I had real friends in high school, because I would sing for them and they were just, very brutally tell me, Rochelle, you have many talents, singing is definitely not one of them. And sometimes I would just record my voice and send my friends a recording. It's like, have you heard this person singing? Isn't this such a great voice? And my friends would look at me and they narrow their eyes Rochelle, I feel like this is you who's singing and you're trying to make it seem like someone else. So I was caught. So after a point in time, I realized that this was just a fantasy. I didn't have the talent. I didn't have the toolkit to make it as a mega superstar singer. And I needed to focus on things that were within my reach, realistically. You have a dream and it's your dream. This isn't me telling you to give up on your dreams. I think we really do need to demarcate between a dream and a fantasy. And me wanting to be a mega singer, being incredibly tone deaf is obviously, a clear indication that that is a fantasy and definitely not a dream. And I just kind of wanted to give that anecdote to differentiate between the two. Because this isn't me denouncing you following your dreams, even if it would be hard to attain them. If you have the talent, if you have the passion, if you have the means, or the desire to build the toolkit to get there, definitely do it. Go for your dreams, but be cognizant. No one is a dream and no one is a fantasy. So why am I saying all of this? Well, because I think that your dreams, I think if you are committed to achieving a dream, it's going to come to you. I think if you spend enough time and energy and effort focusing on your dream, it might not come to you overnight. It might not come to you exactly when you want it to, but if you're working towards it, it will arrive. And sometimes we think we've made it and then, the floor falls through, or, something falls through and it doesn't work out the way we thought it would. And we beat ourselves up, and we're filled with regret, and we're filled with, a sense of discouragement. And I just want to say that all of these are points in time that provide you more information about what you need to do to repivot or to, alter maybe your delivery so that you're closer to achieving your dream. And I firmly believe that we take the things that take place in our past, the failures, disappointments, some of the setbacks that are a byproduct of us pursuing a dream. And sometimes we take that information and we allow it to be interpreted as, well, this dream it's not for me. I would like to sort of reinterpret that information. If you're striving toward your dream and you're making incremental progress, recognize it's still progress. But sometimes to achieve a dream, we need to change ourselves. And the only way we can change is through some of these experiences and some of, the setbacks and the failures that we experience. But only if we take that as information, not destination. Setbacks, failures, disappointments, all of this is information that helps us repivot, recalibrate so that we're better equipped to achieve the dream in front of us. And if we always kind of keep this mindset that what is meant for you, it comes to you, then we know that no matter, what the interaction with the environment is, if we take that information, if we allow that information to change our method of attack or approach or strategy, then at some point in time, we're going to get there, right? And you just need to pay attention, right? You need to pay attention to what that information is telling you. Is that information telling you, you need to practice more, you need to spend more time sort of developing your pitch? Like, be very transparent with yourself about what that information is telling you. And if you still want to pursue that dream, like if those setbacks haven't changed your desire for, accomplishing or attaining that specific initiative, then keep going. But make sure that, your approach is different, that you take that information as learning and that you apply that learning and allow the transformation to take place so that you're ready for when that dream, manifests itself in your life. So definitely the first attitude that fosters resilience is recognizing that what is meant for you comes to you. So don't spend time pining for or dwelling on the things that didn't manifest. All of that is for a reason. All of those are signals and information that will help you figure out your way to the destination that is truly meant for you. So hopefully that helps, and I'd love to get your feedback on it, but I really truly believe in my life. As I mentioned in a few videos, I'm very goal-oriented. And some goals, I like to kind of set my goals on an annual cadence, and some goals, it's only after, review, like I try to accomplish a goal and I kind of do my after action review after the end of the year, and it's like I wasn't able to accomplish it, but I got a little bit closer. And sometimes getting that little bit closer, I'm like, this needs to be another goal. I need to reestablish this goal. I need to keep working on this. So things don't necessarily happen the way we want them to, but if we want something to happen, it will happen, but we just need to be receptive to the information that sort of our failures and our setbacks are giving us. So hopefully that is helpful to you. And that's like the first one on my list on different attitudes that foster resilience. The second attitude that fosters resilience is cultivating an internal locus of control. And what does that mean? An internal locus of control is cultivating a sense of where control lies in your life and recognizing that life doesn't happen to you, it happens with you, and you always have a say, right? And sometimes you kind of put yourself sort of in a corner and in a box, like, well, I only have these two decisions, because you're ignoring the decision that takes you out of the game, or you're ignoring the decision that might change the way that everything sort of looks in this present moment. But when you really take the time to recognize all of the choices in front of you and that everything is a matter of choice, then you retain that inner locus of control and you retain your role within your life as a player, right? Sometimes life can feel like it's bombarding us and, we're getting hit from all sides and we feel like we have no control. And we don't have control over the events and the happenstance within our lives, no, but we always have control over a choice. We always have control over how we decide to move forward. And always knowing that that control is something that you can choose to relinquish, but even that in of itself is a choice. But always recognize that you always have the choice on how you push forward, on how you react, and how you respond. That choice is never something that people can take from you. And what kind of plays into that is also a sense of separating where your control begins and where your control ends. And you can't control the way the people around you treat you. But what you can do is use the way that people treat you, not as information to inform your own sense of self, but as information that informs you about who they are. We often mistake people's behaviors as an indication of our own value, and that couldn't be more false. People's behavior is an indication of who they are, not who you are. And how you choose to respond is a reflection of who you are. Are you going to allow someone to treat you however they feel inclined to treat you? Are you going to enforce your boundaries? Are you going to allow someone's treatment of you to diminish your sense of value, or are you going to hold them accountable? Recognize your space. Recognize sort of the boundaries and sort of the perimeter of your control, and also recognize what doesn't fit. And allowing people's behavior to influence your self-perception, it doesn't fit, right? People's behavior should influence your perception of them. And too often we allow people to kind of get away with bad behavior, and we allow that bad behavior to have a negative impact on us. I'm saying, give that energy right back to them, right? You have internal locus of control. Only you get to decide how you feel in any given situation. And if there is someone who's making you feel lesser than, then you get to decide how you position that person in your life moving forward, whoever that person happens to be. But all of that strength, all of that decisiveness comes from retaining that locus of control. Again, you can't control the environment around you, but you can control your interactions with that environment, and retaining that level of autonomy and deciding what spaces you find yourself in, what people you interact with, where you put your energy. All of that is retaining that locus of control and responding in kind, recognizing that your response is your choice. It's how you retain control over your life, and not about, having an illusion of control, which is essentially thinking that you can control the people, places, the people or the environment within which you find yourself. Locus control also, for it to translate in a healthy and in a way that's adaptive, it's also about your inner dialogue, the way you speak to yourself. Life can be very discombobulating. So the best strategy when we think about how to navigate through life is to be aligned. And we often overlook this idea of alignment, but if life is beating you down and then you decide to turn, against yourself and beat yourself down, it's kind of like, wow, where is the room to breathe here? So I think recognizing that you can be your worst enemy or your own best friend. That's internal locus of control. And if you want to get through what you're going through, and even if that experience is going to change you to some degree, the best way to get through it, the best strategy, like a very first point in the strategy that you cultivate for yourself, is alignment. So mind, body, and spiritual alignment. And knowing that whatever it is that you do in response to what's happening around you, you're honoring yourself through and through. And honoring yourself means valuing yourself, and it means cultivating a relationship with yourself. And that sounds weird, but the best relationship that we will have in our lives, or we stand to potentially have in our lives, is the one we have with ourselves. And too often that's the relationship that we too readily neglect. So this is really a call to recognize that the best way to approach life is in alignment, and recognizing that the way you speak to yourself really does need to be a reflection of the way you speak to your closest friend. So I think that that's something that is very important and is very crucial when we think about the internal locus of control. We think about mind, body, spiritual alignment, and we also think about the ways that we can create an allyship with ourselves as we approach and navigate the world around us. So what does this look like? This means having your own back, claiming and with confidence, the outcomes and the accomplishments that have come your way or that you've worked for, and not diminishing those things, being humble, but being truthful about what you've been able to, carve out for yourself and how you've been able to impact those around you and in a positive way, not diminishing that or allowing people to diminish that. So internal locus of control, it definitely means the way you respond to the world around you, but it also means valuing the relationship you have with yourself and treating yourself the way that you treat the closest friend that you have in your circle. The last point that I'd like to share with you today on attitudes that cultivate resilience is an attitude about you grow through what you go through. So we love to talk about growth and development and how it's very transformative, and it is, but growth is often painful. Growth isn't always fun. When you're growing or when you're stretched beyond your comfort zone, it involves uncomfortable experiences, and it involves loss, it involves grief. And it involves having really tough conversations with yourself and with those people around you, and recognizing that you're going to get through it. That, this is growth. Like when it hurts, you're growing, and you're going to get through it, and you're not going to be the same at the other end of it, but you'll be better. And why? Because that's a choice, right? When we go through things in our lives, we can choose to be worse or off or better as a result of it, and that's a personal commitment we make to ourselves. For me, it's been years that I've committed to myself, no matter what I go through, I promise myself I'm going to grow through it, and that I commit to myself that I will be better as a result of it. And it doesn't change, like the cycles of grief and like the loss and some of the emotions that come with that I'm committed to being a better or stronger version of who I am post that. And because that is a commitment, that is something that's sort of always in my periphery as I kind of navigate and kind of go through difficult situations. When we think about the butterfly, sometimes we look at sort of that transformative period when the butterfly is in the cocoon and it's like, must be sleeping or very peaceful. It's metamorphosizing. I think it's probably one of the most painful experiences a creature stands to experience, right? And it seems quiet and it seems still, and I think a lot of it is like very much a reflection of life. And when we're going through these periods of transformation, like it might look like stillness to those around us, it might look like not a whole lot is happening to those around us, but a lot is happening on the inside. And afterwards, we tend to be a much more beautiful, much more elegant version of ourselves if we just kind of like trust the process. I think growth is something that has been cyclical in nature, has happened to those before us and those before them, and it's not going to break us, it's going to build us. But it might mean that we break away from behaviors, patterns, and aspects of who we once were, and maybe that means shifts and changes in our environment and our social circles as well. But recognizing that growth is uncomfortable. I don't know if growth has ever been comfortable for anyone, if growth has been comfortable for you. I mean, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear how that translated. But a lot of the serious growth that I've experienced in my life has definitely been through uncomfortable and very challenging experiences that I'm very proud to say that I've been able to get through, and not unscathed, but definitely much wiser. And I've always been very grateful for those experiences in hindsight, and definitely it's painful while you're going through it, but in hindsight you see how much you've learned and how much you've sort of developed and how you've changed, and even your periphery. And I challenge you, think about who you were 5 years ago and think about who you were 5 years from then. Very different people. So one attitude that I feel really has contributed to my sense of resilience is just this mindset that whatever it is I'm going through, I made the choice to grow through it. A big part of growth is recognizing that fear is fiction. Fear can leave us in a state of paralysis and make us miss out on really great and amazing opportunities. Fear is proof, really, that illusions are very powerful. One thing that I can tell you, because a lot of my growth stemmed from conquering my fears and kind of recognizing that life is really about ambiguity and about stepping into the unknown, and that in and of itself is a very scary thing. But conquering that fear and taking those steps anyways have cultivated confidence, self-assuredness, and of course, battle wounds that are worth telling the kids, the grandkids, and maybe even the great-grandkids at one point in time. So hopefully all of these tips together have proven to be helpful to you. For me, these are 3 of the fundamental attitudes that foster resilience. within me, and that, you know, I believe are a true depiction of cultivating a well-grounded sense of resilience in others. And I'd love to hear from you. If there are other attitudes, values, beliefs that you take on that help you cultivate resilience, I would love to hear what those are. Please do interact with this video, leave a like, a comment, or share this video. Before ending this video, I do want to quickly shout out one of the moms in the Oakville Moms group who let me know that, you know, it was a little impersonal with how far the camera was. So if you've seen these last two videos, I've changed the setup a little bit, and I'd love to get feedback. Like, is it better? Is it more personal? Is there something else that I should be doing to kind of, you know, make the ambience a little bit more fun or more relaxed? I'd love to hear from you. I'm a new YouTuber, but definitely very receptive to any feedback that you have on the video, on the videos, on the content, and on the setup. So thank you again to Mom from Oakville Moms Group. I really appreciate your feedback, and until next time, have a great day.
Feel like no one's listening. Some days I just feel like the world's